Hello, everyone, and hopefully you can hear us as we begin our July 2019 webinar on making the most of CRL collections. This is James Simon, and on behalf of the staff here at the Center for Research Libraries, I'm very pleased that you've been able to join us today. We had a very high registration list, including a lot of long-standing members and frequent attendees of our quarterly webinars, as well as several new faces, as well as representatives from new institutions that have just recently joined CRL. I'm very pleased to welcome the new members for 2019, including the Université Laval, bonjour, and the University of Texas at Dallas, who have joined us, as well as several others who hopefully will be joining us today. As many of you know, CRL presents quarterly webinars with updates on a variety of CRL's programs and services, including activities around digitization, collection building partnerships, and licensing. This summer, for the July 2019 webinar, we've taken a step back to provide a refresher course on one of CRL's greatest aspects, the collections. We have not done a periodic update on making the most of CRL's collections in the past few years, so we thought that this was an opportune time during the summer to provide a refresher course for those individuals who may be new at your member institutions or just wanted a refresher on the variety of strengths of CRL's programs. So in this 90-minute presentation, we will be addressing three significant aspects of CRL's collections and programs. I'll be providing an overview of CRL's collections and collection partnerships. We'll also be providing information on how to discover and access the variety of CRL's resources, as well as leveraging CRL services for your patrons. The presenters today feature a number of individuals from the CRL staff, including myself, James, as well as Amy Wood, the head of technical services, Aileen Mulchrone, the supervisor of stacks management, Mary Wilke, our member liaison and outreach services director, and Virginia Kerr, the head of communications and development. This team is available to take comments and questions. So just a few housekeeping announcements here. We have muted all of your phones and microphones on entry to cut back on the background chatter, or if you're listening to this in a conference room, so you're unable to ask questions via the phone. We do encourage you to submit comments, questions, clarifications, or any other information you want to communicate us via the chat function in WebEx. We'll be monitoring that if you're having any sign-on problems or if you have a general question based on what you've heard, and we will address those during the course of our conversation. So please do comment. For those of you who are new, CRL is a consortium of university, college, and independent research libraries of all sizes. The CRL community includes academic libraries at major research institutions such as Harvard and Yale, as well as undergraduate colleges and liberal arts institutions such as Amherst and Oberlin. CRL also includes independent, non-academic institutions such as the New York Public Library and the Newberry Library here in Chicago. Most CRL libraries are located in the United States, but we also include a significant representation from Canadian institutions across Canada, as well as global members, including the University of Hong Kong and other members in Germany and Lebanon. Together, institutions supporting CRL's mission further supporting advanced research and teaching in all disciplines. Although CRL's strongest fields are in the humanities and social sciences, we also have strong support for the sciences themselves. CRL accomplishes its mission by preserving critical, historical, and cultural evidence that neither individual libraries nor commercial publishers alone can preserve. And we make those materials available to research, ensuring the availability of primary sources through preservation and acquisition. CRL's efforts over 7 decades of activity have generated a collection of primary source materials the size of a major university library. CRL supports original research and inspired teaching in the humanities, sciences, and social sciences by making these materials a wealth of rare and uncommon primary source materials to researchers at your institutions. I'll be very pleased to present an overview of CRL's collections including information about CRL's digital collections and the collection partnerships that augment CRL's central collection located here in Chicago. The approximately 5 million newspapers, journals, books, pamphlets, dissertations, archives, government publications, and other resources help support research and teaching at your institutions. And I'll cover just a few of these topic areas over the next 25 minutes. The newspaper collection at CRL represents one of the greatest strengths and one of our shining collections that sees frequent use from the member institutions. Altogether, CRL has over 18,000 titles cataloged in CRL's catalog. These are held in print, microformat, and in digital format as well. The newspaper collection does circulate heavily, and they're used in a variety of research fields. Approximately 25% of the newspaper collection at CRL includes general circulation newspapers covering all states and territories of the United States, from colonial times to the present. Just over half the newspaper collection, however, are from countries outside of North America. The foreign newspaper titles cover dates anywhere from the mid-1700s through the present. Our particular strengths in the newspaper collection are from Europe and the United Kingdom, although we have significant collections as well from Latin America, Africa, China, Russia, South Asia, and more. CRL circulates these materials, as I mentioned, both in hard copy and in print. We do circulate large stacks of print when requested by members. Increasingly, however, CRL is delivering its collection digitally. As of July 2019, CRL has about 270,000 issues from about 900 titles digitized as a result of demand scanning from patrons at your institutions, and we'll be covering both the digital collections and how to request digital materials as we continue this conversation. Some examples of recent materials digitized for patrons include ranges of issues from newspapers, including the Daily Missouri Democrat from 1853 to 1858, Naledi ya Botswana, or African Echo, from the years 1944 through 1964, La Opinión, a Hispanic American newspaper from Los Angeles for the period of 1941 to 1945. Recent digitization activities at CRL have focused on the Latin American collection in particular, in service of scholarship relating to Central and Southern America as well as the Caribbean. We have continued to scan digital newspapers both in-house alongside of our partners, and I will be discussing our partnerships in news in just a few minutes. We also work extensively to broker licensing agreements for electronic resources in the area of news, including live site license for active publishers, as well as legacy digitized historical content, such as historical newspapers from Latin America, the Middle East, and elsewhere. Another large collection at CRL that sees increasing use in the 21st century is the dissertation collection. CRL holds we hold over 800,000 foreign doctoral dissertations. Those are dissertations at the PhD level from degree-granting programs from institutions outside of the United States and Canada. These dissertations cover all dates, subjects, and languages. The earliest dissertation in the collection is from 1605, although the bulk of the material is from the 20th century. In fact, 2/3 of the collection represents dissertations that were produced after the year 1945. The majority of the dissertations in the collection were produced in Western Europe, and in particular Germany, France, Switzerland, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom. We also have strong representative collections from Scandinavia, and we acquire materials from institutions all around the world through our demand purchase program. The images on your screen represent special dissertations within our collection from Nobel laureates and other notable scholars, including the one in the middle from Albert Einstein. As I mentioned, this collection has seen increasing use in recent years, especially since CRL engaged in a major retrospective cataloging effort of all of its dissertations. They're used in a wide range of research, not the least among them the study of the history of medicine and public health. CRL continues to acquire dissertations on demand for patrons at member institutions. We also work very closely with United Kingdom institutions through the British Library's Ethos program, and we'll be describing that in more detail later. CRL's serials and journal collection make up a significant portion of CRL's catalog collection and amount of space inside our facility here in Chicago. We have more than 70,000 catalog titles and millions of volumes in hard copy. Most of the journals collection are in print, and they were acquired from the initial deposit from the founding member institutions of the center. Half of the collection are journals in the English language, although the rest of the material covers a broad cross-section of languages and materials published from around the world. About half of the journals collection were for serials that were published after 1945. In fact, 80% of the journals collection is from the 20th century. So this does represent a modern or contemporary collection of journals. We do continue to acquire, through special purchase and through preservation programs, early historical journals such as early historical societies from India, Russian scientific serials from East Asia, and materials acquired through the Library of Congress Cooperative Acquisitions Program, principally for serials in India, Pakistan, and Indonesia. The subject strengths of our journals collection, again, spans all subjects, but particular strengths in the collection are in the areas of agriculture, economic and social conditions, industry and labor, law, literature, medicine, and politics, science and engineering, statistics, and trade. The materials that CRL collected were built consciously to represent materials that were not commonly collected or commonly held by the member institutions. And we continue to focus our efforts to have a complementary collection of legacy journals that would not ordinarily be acquired through profiles or through special subject collecting at your institutions. I did mention a focus on trade and industry, and I wanted to highlight one aspect of the collection, which includes the American Periodicals series from the Center for Research Libraries, a large collection of materials that were digitized by ProQuest about 6 years ago and made accessible through their APS series. This initiative expands digital access to CRL's American historical journals and provides full text and full color scans of over 3 million pages of CRL journal content. That collection was made up of general interest magazines and trade journals from the period covering 1850 through 1920. Again, the strengths of those materials include technology, agriculture, medicine, and architecture. Those materials are available as part of ProQuest's APS series, although CRL can provide access to articles from that material even if you have not acquired the collection from ProQuest, and we can provide temporary access to the American Periodicals from the Center for Research Libraries on special request. I should also mention that augmenting the serials collection are the science, technology, and engineering journals available through the Linda Hall Partnership, which I'll be describing in about 5 minutes. Finally, one of the special collections and subject strengths of CRL include government publications and archives. This has been part of CRL's collection building program from its founding. In particular, government archival microfilm sets from institutions such as the United States National Archives and Records Administration, the UK National Archives, the German Ministry for Colonial Affairs and other historical colonial archives, including the Dutch and British East India Company, and the Central American Archives, represents a strong special collection in microfilm and microform for use by your patrons. We have extensive subject guides available for all of those colonial and current government documents and archives, digitized and available through the CRL's catalog. And we can provide reference consultation on request if you're looking for specific materials from those collections. Augmenting the archival sets are other foreign government documents, although CRL's historical foreign government collection is not as comprehensive as perhaps special focus institutions such as your own, since much of our material was formed through the deposit by member institutions in the 1940s and 1950s. However, we do have extensive strengths in foreign government documents from Western Europe, Latin America, and Canada. Less representation include areas like Africa, Eastern Europe, South and Southeast Asia. The dates of our foreign documents collections span primarily from the early 1800s through about 1950, but earlier dates from representative publications are available as well. Augmenting the international collections are a strong collection of U.S. state agency documents. This material, which CRL collected on deposit and aggregated for member institutions, includes substantial files of legislative journals, administrative and financial reports of all major and minor state agencies, budgets, statistical publications, reports of the governor, serials from the legislature and special commissions and committees of the states, special publications like geological surveys and other varied informational publications are all represented in the U.S. state agency documents. CRL attempted to cover as comprehensively as possible materials collected from the states until about the year 1950. Materials after 1950 were found to be largely in scope and held by local institutions as well as state libraries, so CRL did not continue to focus its collections there. CRL has recently been working through those collections to digitize the legislative journals and related publications through our partnership with the Law Library Microform Consortium. I'm going to pause and talk a little bit about CRL's digital collections. I've mentioned that our materials circulate in all formats, and we do continue to send out thousands of reels a year and stacks of printed volumes of journals and newspapers. However, in the past 10 years, CRL has augmented its delivery of materials through the provision of scans in response to patrons' requests. While the overall scope of CRL's e-resource collection is still relatively small compared to the 5 million volumes held in our facility, CRL's ongoing digitization of our collections have yielded a significant amount of content now available to member institutions. As you can see from the statistics on the screen here, more than 29,000 titles from CRL's collection have been scanned in whole or in part, representing more than 250,000 individual items. An item here is the equivalent of a volume or perhaps an issue of a title. All of these have been ingested into and available to member institutions through CRL's digital delivery service. CRL's DDS materials make up a cross-section of all of the materials that I've already described, although about 63% of CRL's digitized collection include news resources, that is, newspapers that have been scanned in response to patrons' requests. A further 30% of that collection includes individual issues and volumes of serials that have been requested from institutions. Other special collections have also been generated, and I'll talk a little bit more about those now. Numerous other materials I should mention are accessible through CRL's partnerships. On our main website, at the top of the screen, you can see tabs for various aspects of CRL's collection. The one I want to highlight here is the Electronic Resources tab, the purple box in the middle. If you click on that, you can get access to an overview or a dashboard of CRL's digital collections, where you can see a variety of highlights from CRL's materials, including special collections that we've digitized and access to the CRL online catalog that will highlight to the title level, all of the materials digitized by CRL. And we'll take you through a tour of that later as we talk about how to discover resources. However, on this page, you would be interested, I'm sure, in seeing some of the special collections that we have digitized, which include materials like the Chinese pamphlets, political communication, and mass education propaganda materials. This comes from a special collection that was deposited at the center and includes a variety of street literature produced in China from the 1940s through the 1950s. This is a special collection that with full-color scans. It's quite interesting materials. Another collection I would just highlight from that page includes a collection of official gazettes and civil society documentation that CRL has recently scanned through support of the Carnegie Corporation of New York. Here we sourced and digitized a variety of official publications of states that are known to be non-transparent or perhaps corrupt through various international indices. And we digitized the official gazettes and made them openly accessible to the world in order to further access to these special research materials. In 2018, CRL announced the release of its next generation digital delivery system, otherwise known as DDS Next. This platform was engineered in-house by our talented systems staff in order to advance the availability and discoverability of CRL's resources as we continue to digitize materials. DDS Next is built on the latest IIIF compliant platforms and features a variety of enhanced means of searching not just the metadata, but selected full text from the materials that we've OCR'd and made accessible through this platform. The DDS platform itself provides a variety of filters that you can filter by subject, format, language, area, or hone in on special collections. Here you can see just an example of a title that provides navigation, discovery, full-text searchability, and other features that are built into the DDS Next system. I am pleased to announce, and we will be making this more widely known, that CRL has recently loaded the metadata for all of its digitized materials into DDS Next that will allow you to search across CRL's digitized records. And for those that are available in full text, you can search the full text of those materials as well. Briefly, I just want to highlight some of the partnerships. So far, I've primarily discussed materials that have been collected and housed by CRL. But in the past several years, CRL has worked to extend access to an array of materials that are held by other institutions, with special concentrations in major collecting domains that complement and augment CRL's own collections. Our collection partnerships bring new expertise and resources to bear on our efforts to digitize, archive, and provide access to resources, emphasizing digital access along with a strong commitment to preservation and retention of the original source materials. In the area of news, CRL partnered with Redex, a division of Newsbank, to broker digital access to historical content from CRL's global news collections, and not just collections held here at CRL, but also those that were provided by CRL member institutions. This path-breaking partnership digitized several million pages of content from Africa, Latin America, and South Asia. This partnership does continue to date, where we look to explore additional ongoing digitization activities with Redex. The features of this partnership is that the community itself, the CRL membership community, gets to prioritize and select materials for digitization, and those materials do return and revert back to CRL for access to all CRL members after a period of time. CRL also controls all of the pricing, making this an extremely affordable solution for institutions looking to expand their historical news collections. More recently, we announced a partnership with Eastview Information Services on the Global Press Archive. The Global Press Archive is a program of Eastview to digitize and make accessible up to 25 million pages of news content from around the world, sourced primarily from these spectacular 20th century collections of the Stanford University's Hoover Institution. CRL's partnership with Eastview seeks to make accessible almost 5 million pages of content, prioritized and selected by the CRL community. A significant feature of this partnership is that 2/3 of that material will be made openly accessible worldwide, featuring widespread access to materials from China, the Middle East, Latin America, Eastern Europe, and other areas of the world. Again, these materials are delivered to CRL for hosting and storage, and we are working on support for broad computational analysis to this corpus of materials. Again, another leap forward in CRL's access to resources on behalf of scholars. CRL's partnership with the Linda Hall Library that I mentioned, CRL's partnership with the Linda Hall Library brokers access to materials in the areas of science, technology, and engineering. CRL and the Linda Hall Library have entered into this partnership to build on the rich holdings of print serials in those fields, assembled by the two institutions combined. Together, we constitute a premier library of global science. The combined serials are available electronically through document delivery to CRL libraries in the United States, Canada, and Hong Kong, through on-demand digitization, and traditional document delivery through the rapid ILL service. The Linda Hall Library is the locus for maintaining, developing, and providing access to those collections. The Linda Hall collection includes current and back issues of over 50,000 journal titles acquired and maintained over the years. These include print serials from major producers including Elsevier, Wiley, Springer, and other publishers, as well as historical serials produced by the Russian Academy of Sciences and other learned societies in Europe, Asia, and the United States. As I said, Linda Hall provides document delivery from its print collection, as well as CRL providing access to its science collections through RAPID. If you have not set up RAPID at your institutions, I strongly encourage you to contact CRL so that we can onboard you to make sure that you're maximizing use of these critical science materials, especially if your institution is considering cuts or disbanding its big deal programs. You should look into how Linda Hall can fulfill services for your institution. A third partnership includes CRL's Global Resources Partnership in the area of law and government. CRL's partnership with the Law Library Microform Consortium, otherwise known as LLMC, supports expanded access to legal and government primary source documents, serving the research interests of CRL's diverse community. We leverage our combined membership. LLMC is a member-based organization with a similar mission and purpose of CRL. We leverage the combined membership of our two institutions to identify, preserve, and provide digital access to important at-risk primary source publications relating to law and government in the U.S., Canada, and other national jurisdictions. CRL's partnership with LLMC has focused on the international collections, especially since law libraries in the United States are eager to gain access to legacy collections from the U.S. CRL's partnership has expanded the purview of LLMC to include materials from common law countries in Africa, Latin American legal codes, and other materials. CRL and LLMC digitize nearly 5 million pages a year. All of that material is added to the LLMC digital platform, which has recently enhanced the usability. I do encourage you to look at the LLMC platform to see what resources are available to your institution. Recent materials and accomplishments from this partnership include comprehensive digitization of U.S. state legislative journals, as well as the Canadian provincial journals, essentially from the beginning of their publications up to the latest issues we could source. Other special collections include legal materials, historical legal materials from Cuba and Haiti, and a substantial digitization initiative from LLMC to digitize the collection of early state records that was microfilmed in the 1940s and 1950s through the Library of Congress. Finally, I want to mention one last partnership, which has been brokered between CRL and the U.S. Agricultural Information Network, as well as AGNIC. The Global Resources Partnership in Agriculture, known as Project Ceres, seeks to support ongoing preservation and digitization of historical collections in the fields of agriculture and agricultural extension publications. CRL, through the project, sponsors programs that we provide funding to libraries to digitize and to commit to preserving the print publications of the core literature in the history of agriculture, materials essential to the study of the history and economics of agriculture in the United States. CRL works with USAIN on an annual campaign to solicit project proposals. USAIN awards funding, and CRL works with those institutions to digitize and to put those materials up. All of those digitized materials come to CRL and are ingested inside CRL's DDS platform for widespread access by all CRL institutions. I want to pause and just make sure I didn't miss any questions or comments before I turn this over to the next presenter. I did see something come in here. Hold on one second. Bear with me. So a question from one of our attendees related to the state government documents. They asked, what are the plans for digitization of the budget and financial reports of state government document collections? Also, are these cataloged and discoverable in the CRL catalog? That's an excellent question. We have been assessing CRL's state documents collection to determine priorities for digitization within there, in particular with our partnership with the Law Library Microfilm Consortium. LLMC, after having scanned the legislative serials, has been looking for related information from attorneys general's reports, Supreme Court, and other materials. I don't believe that we've looked at the budget and financial reports of state government institutions, but that's a very interesting suggestion. One of the quirks of CRL's deposited collections is that not all of them have been cataloged or made accessible through OCLC. This was a decision made early on by founding institutions that certain special collections could be organized and put up online as a finding aid for materials, but not officially cataloged. CRL does go back and perform retrospective cataloging when materials are requested, but otherwise, these materials may not be widely known through OCLC. So it is important for you to refresh your memory of CRL's strengths by visiting our website and looking at special collections areas on our pages themselves. I'd be happy to follow up with you if you want to contact me later. That's a very good question. Seeing none other and knowing that we need to move along, I would like to turn the presentation over to our next presenters. Amy Wood and Aileen Mulchrone will discuss how to access and discover CRL resources.
Thanks, James. Hello, everyone. This is Amy Wood. And as you can tell from James's overview, CRL has a wealth of resources for your patrons. Since access to these resources is a primary reason to be a CRL member, we want to help you help your patrons know what we have and how they can quickly access those things. In this part of the webinar, I will cover the best ways to discover the collection, and Aileen Mulchrone will explain the many ways you can request CRL's resources. With the exception of some special collections, as James just said, like the college catalogs or the textbook collection, all of CRL's resources are cataloged at some level. All cataloging is in MARC, and all MARC records are in our local catalog, WorldCat, and the major discovery services such as Ex Libris's Primo and ProQuest Summon. If your library uses a borrowing service or consortial catalog that uses MARC records, let us know how we can help you include ours in the mix. Just browsing CRL's catalog is a great way to get to know CRL's collection. As you can see from the slide, we have scoped the catalog to help you dive more easily into the type of material that will best suit your needs. Another great way to get to know the collection is through CRL's topic guides, which are linked from the catalog landing page. The topic guide can also be found under the Collections tab on CRL's website. There are 40 topic guides with everything from African studies to World War II. If those resources aren't enough, ask our collection expert, Mary Wilke, for a reference consultation. She'll talk more about the reference consultation later in the presentation, but I wanted to highlight this link on the catalog page. Back to the catalog. CRL's catalog includes 1.5 million records, and they are all included in the All CRL scope. CRL has roughly 45,000 serials in print, microform, and electronic formats, and that's just for our sort of general collection. But the serials for our special collections, if they've been cataloged, and for our area studies programs and other special projects are all included in here as well. James provided information about CRL's 18,000 newspaper titles, and these also include two sub-collections that people aren't always aware of, but I think are important to point out here, and those are our ethnic newspapers and our Civilian Conservation Corps newspapers, which are subsets of this newspaper collection. The newspaper scope starting page has browsing tools to help you access these important sub-collections. The ethnic newspaper drop-down menu displays each of the ethnic groups for which CRL has newspapers. And each of these drop-down menus operates independently. Combining more than one term would require an advanced search. Dissertations are an important part of CRL's collection, as you've already heard. And we have over 800,000 foreign doctoral dissertations, and they can all be accessed through the dissertation scope, or at least the catalog records for them can be. The dissertation scope has its own browsing tool. First, you choose a country in the drop-down menu, such as China in this example, and this will reveal a list of institutions for that country, which are included in CRL's collection. Aileen will talk in depth about requesting the material, but I wanted to highlight that each member's Iliad page can be accessed from this main catalog page. This will assist patrons in requesting material. All CRL members are listed in the drop-down menu, and links to each member's Iliad logon page are embedded in here. Choose your institution, hit the orange triangle, and off to your ILL page for logon. Unfortunately, request forms do not auto-populate. The digital scope includes about all 29,000 plus of CRL's electronic resources. Do your search, click on a title, you'll see the catalog record, and click on the Center for Research Libraries link to access our DDS platform. This screenshot is from our original digital delivery system. James had shown slides from our new system. So there's quite a difference, but either way, you'll have full access to the digital from either one. Although CRL's catalog is an excellent place to start when browsing the collection, most patrons probably prefer starting with their own catalog when they're in the midst of a resource search. So loading CRL records into your catalog is one of the best ways to help them access CRL's collection. This slide shows the basics of our record loading service. You can access all of all 1.5 million records or subsets of the records. We have sort of standard subsets that we use, but you can request custom ones if they're easy for us to reproduce every time we need to do an update. Loading records for electronic resources has proven to increase the use of CRL resources for our members. 3 ways to obtain the CRL records are directly from CRL on a quarterly schedule, through the major discovery systems or from OCLC's World Share Collection Manager, which is updated. I have weekly here on the slide, but I know that we update it more frequently than that because we are digitizing every day and providing new access every day. Obtaining records from, directly from CRL, this slide gives you the basics for that. You determine which records you like to obtain and contact a colleague, Jocelyn Luisma, and she'll help you establish your profile so that we can continue every update to give you just the records that you need once you've provided us with the contact, and we will give you an FTP authorization to download those records. Obtaining records from the discovery systems. Records are provided to all of the major discovery systems, and we provide quarterly updates to those systems along with those updates to our members that we provide directly. In those systems, you choose the CRL collection. That contains all of our CRL records, and unfortunately, we don't help with the configuration of your system. That is something that you will need to work with your system vendor on. Obtaining CRL records from the World Share Collection Manager. CRL has 3 World Share knowledge base collections for our digitized material: monographs, newspapers, and serials. These are updated, again, at least weekly or more frequently as we complete the metadata for the material that we digitize. For more information about those knowledge base collections, it's best to look at OCLC's FAQs and other web pages about these collections. If you have specific questions, though, please do contact us. And I will now hand over the presentation to Aileen.
Hi, this is Aileen Mulchrone for the Access Services Department. I'm going to talk to you about how to borrow, how we deliver, special programs such as the Demand Purchase Program, and how to access our digital collection. Borrowing from CRL is easy. You may send us requests through OCLC, Iliad. Our symbol is CRL. When you do this, we ask that you add us to the lender stream first, so that you can get the most out of your CRL membership. If you put us in 2 times, this will allow us the opportunity to correspond with you through conditionals if necessary. While this is our preferred method of receiving requests, we will accept requests via fax, hard copy forms via mail, such as the ALA ILL form, or through our general email account. You may also find on our online catalog the option for users to place requests by directing patrons to your ILL request forms via Iliad. We have set up special requesting services for institutions not using Iliad, such as our global members. Please inquire if you have special needs. Many of our members are involved with consortia that facilitate resource sharing. CRL is a part of many of these consortia, such as Linda Hall Library, Rapid ILL, Prospector for our Colorado members, Connect New York, Borrow Direct, and UBorrow. We're always willing to explore possibilities of joining other consortia that can benefit our members' use of CRL and its materials. All of our collections circulate to our member institutions, including microfilm and unbound serials. We're used to getting requests for long runs of material, such as 10 years of newspaper, which may come out to 300 reels. So don't worry if there's a significant portion of material you'd like, we can accommodate. We have a very generous loan period for our members, which is 6 months with unlimited renewals. The only time we may contact you for recall or deny a renewal request is if another member institution requests the material. All of our material is sent through UPS second-day delivery. For our Ohio members, we use the Ohio Link courier system, and for Illinois members, we use ILDS. Shipping articles. Here's the list of ways we send copies. We use Odyssey, PDF via email, fax, US mail, Arial, or whatever method preferred by your institution. Shipping and loan policies. We're able to turn around most requests for materials within 24 hours. Possible delays may be caused by a citation problem, or if the material is not on the shelf. But even with that, 90% of filled loans, including articles, have a 1 business day turnaround time. Now I'd like to discuss the Demand Purchase Program, a program that saves your institution time and money by having CRL purchase requested materials on behalf of your patron. This program covers 3 areas: archival materials, newspapers, and foreign doctoral dissertations. The demand purchase process is initiated by an ILL request from your institution. To help expedite the demand purchase process, we ask you to put something in the borrowing notes stating, "Please purchase." CRL will then attempt to acquire the material for your patron's use. With this program, there's a $2,000 limit per patron per fiscal year. This means every patron at your institution has the option to request up to $2,000 worth of material. Examples of archival material we purchase include microfilm from the U.S. National Archives and the National Archives of the United Kingdom. But the program is not limited to the archives of national governments. In the 2000s, the program was expanded to include the archives of semi-governmental organizations, NGOs, and other institutions. A recent example is records of the Society for the Propagation of the Gospel. For newspapers, both foreign and domestic, CRL will attempt to acquire holdings of a title from which CRL holds at least 1 day. That is, if a patron is looking for April 1985 of a newspaper, such as the Daily Graphic from Ghana, but CRL holds only through 1982, we will do our best to acquire the range of material requested, subject to availability and funds. For foreign doctoral dissertations, these include any PhD level dissertation issued outside the US and Canada. Again, to expedite the purchasing process, we ask you to include a note indicating, "If not owned, please purchase." When starting the process, many institutions, particularly in the United Kingdom and Commonwealth countries, now require a signed declaration form accompanying a request, indicating that the use of the material is for private research for non-commercial purposes. Many institutions have their own specific forms, and if you do not have a copy of these forms, you can contact us to receive one. Many British dissertations are now accessible through the British Library's Ethos program. As many requests we receive are for UK dissertations, we have partnered with Ethos to arrange for digitization of material on CRL members' behalf. If there is a cost for initial scanning of the dissertation, place your request through CRL, and CRL will pay for the scanning costs. Once the scans are completed, CRL will notify you of their accessibility. With many institutions not allowing libraries to retain copy of the dissertations, it may be possible that the awarding institution may send the dissertation directly to your patron. If that is so, we would like you to inform us so we may clear our records. Even if you are not certain we hold or collect an item, it is still possible that we could purchase it. Please send us a request and just say in the borrowing notes, "Please purchase if not owned." Our staff will examine the requests for their eligibility. Please note that the delivery time will vary depending on the ease of the request. We strongly encourage you to take full advantage of the demand purchase program. On to digital delivery. CRL is fulfilling more and more of its requests digitally. Our goal is to provide research and teaching materials in a digital format, making access to the material more efficient and expedient. Each year, we have digitized on demand nearly 1 million pages. For scholars, our e-resource collection includes materials in every format, from dissertations like The Viking Way by Neil Price to colonial government reports such as the Report by His Majesty's Government of the United Kingdom to the League of Nations. Our current turnaround time for digital delivery is between 5 to 10 business days, depending on the size of the request. We're willing to work with faculty members who desire to have materials digitized for classes. We will scan hard copy, but also microformat. This does include microcards. Our digital delivery is generated through an ILL request from your institution. When the request is received, we will retrieve the material and assess it to see if it meets the criteria for digitization. We check the material for fragility and content. Once decided it is eligible, the requesting library is informed that we will attempt to fill the material digitally. The requested material is given a file name and a delivery date and sent for scanning either in-house or through our service providers. The materials are scanned as TIFF images with accompanying PDF files, with embedded OCR included when possible. The files are ingested into CRL's digital delivery server and retained for future use beyond the initial request. The requesting institution is then notified by email with the linking URL. Records are updated in CRL's catalog and in WorldCat with the electronic availability, keeping our record information current. Copyright access and restrictions. There are two categories for access to CRL's digital resources. Material not under copyright are assigned a category of open access, allowing the general public viewing privileges. Materials that may be under copyright are assigned restricted access, accessible only to CRL members after agreeing to the terms of use. With materials under copyright, users will be taken to a screen asking them to acknowledge copyright of the original material and agreeing to limit their use to fair uses, such as personal research only. Once the server has verified the IP range as a valid member institution and the patron has agreed to the terms of use, the scanned material will appear. If the patron is off campus, they will need to access the material using your institution's proxy service. Local setup to access CRL digital collections. Here we have a couple of links, and you may visit these sites for more information on member access and access through proxy. The reading room. If a scholar is visiting Chicago, wants to use CRL materials on site, we do offer a reading room for their use. We ask that you notify us at least 3 business days in advance to make certain the material is available for use. All of our materials do circulate and may not be available. Our visiting hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. through 2 p.m. by appointment only. If a patron comes without notification, we will do our best to accommodate them. If you have questions, problems, or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact us using our general email address, asd@crl.edu, or by phone using extension 314. Our Access Services team will do our best to assist you as quickly as possible.
Thanks, Aileen. We're going to take a couple of questions here before we move on to the next section. I did see a couple come in from Amy's section here as well, so maybe we can address those.
Hi, this is Amy again. So we had one question about how if you do not see your institution in the drop down for the link to your ILLiad logon page, what do you do? So the best thing to do is to contact me via email, and we'll have someone, and if you just provide the information, the link to your ILLiad page, we'll make sure that we put that up as soon as possible. It just takes a few minutes, and if it's not there, it could be, if you're a new member, we just haven't gotten that information yet to trickle down to us, or if there's a change in the link to your page and something breaks, something like that. There could be many reasons, but just send me an email. My contact information is on the CRL webpage under staff, and I'm happy to take care of that. The other question was about pushing our metadata to the knowledge base providers. And there were a couple of questions about Primo Central Index and Ex Libris Alma Community Zone. I know that we do provide our metadata for Primo, and we do provide our metadata for Ex Libris. But I know with even when the services are owned by the same sort of umbrella company, there are still sort of different avenues, and we still need to provide different loads for that metadata. So my understanding is that we were providing the metadata for those services, but I will double check that. If you know for sure that the service that you use does not have our records, or you don't see our collection in the choices that are available to you, please let me know, and we will do everything we can to to help with that.
There was a couple questions came in regarding our demand purchase program, I believe, and access and purchase proposal program. One question was, with the demand purchase newspapers, Aileen described that we purchase newspapers for which we have at least one day of that newspaper. That is, with an existing collection, we like to fill in gaps. The question was, do you sometimes purchase newspapers that you do not have any issues of? It seems like at some point newer newspapers could be at a disadvantage, and that's absolutely correct. The program was originally built to continue to build on CRL's existing collection. We do purchase newspapers and newer newspapers through a variety of other programs. Number one, we acquire standing orders for selected newspapers, especially international newspapers, from around the world. So we do continue to acquire titles, and we evaluate titles in that program at members' requests. Secondly, we do purchase long runs of newspapers, including new titles, through the Purchase Proposal Program, which Mary will be discussing in just a few minutes. And occasionally, when special conditions merit it, that is, on a case-by-case basis, we can review accepting a deposit for a new title, especially if that material doesn't exist elsewhere in microfilm, or it's extremely rare, rarely held, but an institution wants to make sure somebody holds it. So there are loopholes. I would always just encourage you to request to contact us on that, and Mary, Wilke, and I would be happy to review any special cases. So that's, I guess, the long answer to your short question. Thank you. One other question came in regarding access. One second here. This is about access on campus. This may be a new member, I'm not certain, but the university library joined CRL. However, is access available across campus? Membership is at the campus level, correct? So our law library can use resources as freely as our university library? Question mark. Yes, that is absolutely correct. When you join CRL, you elect the different libraries and branch libraries that are that you consider part of access to CRL resources. That's usually set up at the very beginning of your membership, and we make sure that all of those branch libraries or branch campuses are available to access our materials. However, for electronic resources in particular, it's the IP range that governs the access to the materials. So if you've provided your campus-wide IP ranges, any of our e-resources would be available across the campus, no matter which library. So that does include, for instance, the law library. So I hope that answers the question. All right, so it is time to move along to the next section, leveraging CRL services, and Mary Wilke and Virginia Kerr will take over. Thank you all.
Hi, I'm Mary Wilke, and I am the Outreach Services Director. My department helps members make the best use of CRL Collections and Services, and I believe the best way for you to optimize your membership is for your staff to know the possibilities CRL offers through its collections and services. This was mentioned briefly before, but the reference consultation, in my opinion, is one of the great services that CRL provides to its members. Librarians, faculty, and student researchers are all eligible for this, and all of those categories have contacted me for reference consultations. It starts off when I'm contacted by anyone, a librarian, a professor, or a student, to help them with a question or problem. And I want to stress that if I'm contacted by someone outside the library, I always copy my contact at the library so the library is in on the loop. The consultation can result in identifying material of interest to researchers for personal research, as was the case in identifying materials from the Hamburgischer Colonial Institute for a professor whose area of research was German colonialism. It can result in the identification of an English language foreign published newspaper for use by a professor who used the Six-Day War to teach a historical methods class. While initially borrowing the microfilm, CRL later digitized the papers for the time period being examined, as this was a class that was taught on a regular basis. Or it can result in the identification of material to purchase via one of our cooperative collection programs, as was done to assist a student working on their master's dissertation, which dealt with Korean missions, and I was able to identify materials that were available but not yet owned by CRL. In this way, these cooperative collection programs can help by providing access to materials that the research may or may not be able to afford locally. We've often received letters from scholars saying, "It saved my marriage. I didn't have to spend a long time in a foreign country." As mentioned, reference consultations can result in the use of our cooperative collection programs. Knowing how these programs function can help your staff optimize use of CRL while also saving money locally. More information about the three types of programs can be found on our website under Collections. You would click on the Cooperative Resource Development and finally on the links of the various programs. I'm going to go over them lightly here. I know the demand purchase program was mentioned before, but I wanted to point out that this is a program why most often is used by individuals, can be used by professors for acquiring materials to be used in their classes. In the case here, a professor was teaching classes around Emmett Till's death. He had wanted his classroom, his students, to investigate the newspaper coverage of the death of Emmett Till across the nation, not just locally, but across the nation. And CRL really is set up the best for that, as we have a fantastic newspaper collection. We acquired papers for the run for that time period, which we did not already own based on the demand purchase newspapers. Important things to keep in mind, I know Aileen requested them, was it's always initiated by an interlibrary loan request, and there is a $2,000 limit per patron per fiscal year. However, I do have the discretion to reallocate more funds near the end of the year if needed. Archival materials can also be acquired. This includes not just archives from national governments, but also NGOs and other organizations and institutions. A couple years ago, a professor wanted to use the Fort Smith sedition trial for in his classroom. Now, this was interesting because the U.S. federal court ordered that this case could not be digitized. As a result, when we got the request, we had to purchase a hard copy, paper copy of the transcript from NARA. I want to stress that the archive program can include materials not just from national governments, but also from NGOs and other organizations. We've had materials purchased from a charity hospital, as an example. A consultation with a librarian at one of our member libraries revealed that the professors with who she was the liaison for desired more access to doctoral dissertations from Israel. As dissertations from Israel can be hard to acquire, we actually set up a partnership with a vendor in Israel, and CRL will purchase up to $2,000 worth of doctoral dissertations on selected subjects during a fiscal year. I will state the most popular use of this program is for CRL to cover the costs of original digitization of dissertations via ethos, but there's other ways of using the program too. Reference consultations can result in another use of a program CRL offers, the Purchase Proposal Program. This program is used for larger, costlier needs. Once a year in the fall, CRL puts together a ballot of items suggested from members for purchase, which then the members vote on what CRL would acquire, and we purchase down the ranked final list of votes. Items on this ballot are often not readily available through interlibrary loan, or which may be too esoteric for a member to justify purchasing locally. In the example you see here, it's the result of a reference consultation where the student was researching the trials of the German industrialist Nuremberg trials. We purchased some through the demand purchase for his use, but the rest of the files were balloted in the next purchase proposal round, and they received enough votes to be purchased through that program. The other cooperative collection program is the shared purchase program, and that happens in the spring, but not every year. This program operates like a buying club, with CRL contributing money, the member library suggesting the shared purchase, contributing funds, and other members who desire to see the item available to the CRL community will pledge funds for its purchase. In the case you see here, this is an example of a newspaper title which CRL did not own before, but it was actually first nominated on the purchase proposal ballot, did not receive enough votes to be purchased, but it was acquired through the shared purchase program where CRL, the nominating library, and others pledged funds for its acquisitions. These examples show tangible results of reference consultations, but this happens because staff at member libraries in your communities know about these programs and services that CRL offers. Another important way to leverage CRL membership is just being aware of the topic guides. I know Amy mentioned them earlier, but CRL has this wide range of topic guides that highlights important subjects in our collection. They are not comprehensive, and they really are like a beginner's guide of important resources on any one subject. Through these topic guides, I want to also point out that CRL often digitizes guides to the microform sets to assist with identification of what a patron might need to borrow from us. Member libraries are encouraged to integrate this information on CRL collections into your local websites, in your reference guides, and wherever, course guides even. I know that sometimes course guides have pointed to things on our website. Virginia Kerr will talk more about about marketing or promoting CRL.
Thanks, Mary. In order for libraries to make the best use of their CRL membership, a key strategy is to raise awareness among scholars, both faculty and advanced level students, about the range of valuable resources available through CRL. While discovery tools can lead to specific citations, it's helpful to know that there's something worth looking for. If they've heard of this mysterious place called CRL, graduate students might frame their research inquiries around what we have to offer, and faculty can tailor assignments for advanced courses. To that end, we encourage and support local marketing and awareness campaigns about CRL. On our website, we cite model examples of promoting CRL on your local website. These can be full pages located in the services or resources sections of your websites, or you could consider adding references to CRL within specific subject research guides. We provide boilerplate wording on our website and are happy to consult further on drafting or updating information about CRL's collections and services. Here's some good examples of local marketing, which we do cite from the marketing tools page of our website. The University of Arkansas devotes a full page to describing CRL resources and how to access them. The University of San Diego Library web pages on CRL are extensive. They include sub-pages on describing the various partnerships, such as the partnership with the Linda Hall Library. Here's one of several places where Dartmouth College Library has inserted references to CRL collection strengths within their topical research guides. In this case, a guide to resources for historical newspapers. And you see where CRL is listed. Then they have a link to actually searching newspapers at CRL, and that link leads to the page that Amy Wood showed earlier. Pepperdine University Library posts a number of resource guides for specific courses. In this case, CRL is listed among resources for primary source materials for a senior seminar in history, with a general link to our catalog. We encourage you wherever possible to tailor subject-oriented references. In addition to linking to our catalog, you should consider linking to one of the topic guides that Mary and Amy have mentioned. And as a reminder, Mary is available to consult on relevant CRL collection resources which you could feature. Even in a digital age, printed handouts can reinforce awareness of resources. We've developed several printed resources which you can distribute locally. They're described on our website, and we're happy to ship out supplies of these on request. I believe there's an email contact information there on the page. Yes, members@crl.edu. Just contact us and we'll be happy to send out copies of these materials. There's an attractive brochure describing the global range of CRL collections, noting particular strengths and featured items. This is particularly useful for orientation of new faculty or graduate students. CRL bookmarks can be very handy anywhere you offer promotional literature. We also have a one-page flyer that can be customized and printed locally or distributed as a PDF. Again, just contact us if you're interested in seeing what the flyer looks like. We've been exploring other ways to reach the elusive attention of scholars on your campus. Every winter, we publish a Scholars edition of our Connect e-newsletter with brief items on recent acquisitions and digitization efforts, which you can forward to faculty. Our homepage links to information on subscribing to Connect and to the Scholars edition. Note that we already send this out to the chief collections officers at each library with hopes that it will be forwarded to the appropriate specialist. But we would really love to see how many people want to specifically subscribe to the Scholars edition, even though we do send it out to collections officers. What marketing techniques work best on your campus? Please send us some examples of descriptions of CRL that you've used on your local websites. Also, let us know what else we could do to help support local communication. For instance, are you interested in our providing content for digital ads to display within the library or throughout the campus? That's one suggestion that's come up. We haven't actually worked with anyone to develop a digital ad, but we'd be very interested in helping to provide content. I wanted to also mention, and I don't have a slide of this, but we develop stories on they're called impact stories on the impact of CRL on scholars' research. You can find a link to these impact stories on our homepage. We'd like to think that even if they are specific examples of research in a particular subject area or on a particular campus, they could provide suggestions to you to share, again, with new faculty orientation or graduate student orientation. And we are continuing to look for topics for these impact stories. So please do, if you could, contact me if you have some information about successful research projects which have relied heavily on some of the unique CRL materials. Mary mentioned the newspapers that were acquired for the research. It was a student project on looking at press bias in the coverage of Emmett Till's murder. That became a story on our website, and from that, it also we encouraged the professor who set up the course and was so grateful for our acquiring the newspapers. We encouraged that professor to submit a write-up. Actually, I think it was the librarian who submitted a write-up for the CRL's Primary Source Awards program, which we sponsor annually to feature information about innovative research projects using primary source materials. At this point, I'd like to see if we have other questions for any of our presenters. For this section, for Mary and myself, and it's also an opportunity if there are questions circling back to any of the other sections that we've discussed. Let's see, Mary, we have a question on the purchase proposal.
Yeah, the purchase proposal ballot Nominations for the purchase proposal ballot go out when I send what was purchased in the preceding years. So as soon as one cycle ends, it begins again. So nominations can be submitted anytime, usually from January through the end of September. On that Cooperative Collections Program page, if you click on the page for purchase proposal, at the bottom of the form, you'll see a link to make nominations. We close it at the end of September because we need a month to, excuse me, to vet the nominations, make sure that we don't already own something, because that's actually has happened. And just to tweak what the item, how it was nominated as. Oftentimes, we will get maybe a few nominations all related around one thing, and I will combine it as one item as newspapers from Iran, rather than balloting I think it was 9 titles separately on the ballot. We balloted all as one thing. The ballot then goes out at the end of October, the beginning of November, and there's 3 weeks for the member libraries to vote on it. The person voting is the purchase proposal main contact, although all librarians can access the ballot and look at it, and they can send their comments to the purchase proposal main contact who does the voting. So that's that cycle of year. The shared purchase program, when it happens in the spring, and it usually starts with me contacting libraries at the end of January for a ballot to go out in March, to be finished by April. That shared ballot has been used in the past to acquire newspapers that we did not already own, which is another way of submitting it via the purchase proposal or shared purchase.
And again, we can take any questions on any of the topics covered. Here's a question. CRL has conducted some very useful digitization of serial runs, but it seems one must conduct full text searches in these texts issue by issue. Will there be any way in the future to search all issues of a particular series for a keyword or phrase? And who among my colleagues would like to take that?
Hi, this is Amy again. That is true. With our original DDS, or digital delivery system, each page was in the case of newspapers, each page was digitized, or with some of the older items, things were broken into PDFs of 100 pages or something like that. But the point is that there were many discrete pieces that made up a run, maybe an issue, maybe a volume, and those you do have to, you can search the OCR just in that one. In the new digital delivery system, you can search the OCR across the entire run. So there are not those discrete bits or different pages, issues that are sort of standalone. We have been discussing what we can do to move the older things over to the new DDS system in order to provide that functionality for all of our digital resources, but that will take some time. I think if there is something of particular interest and there's a real need, and you can demonstrate what that need is, that could help us prioritize items that could be moved over to the new DDS system. I'm sure we would be happy to hear about that. But at this point, if you do need to move across or search across a full run, the new DDS system is the one you need.
Okay, I would like to thank all of our presenters and encourage you to contact them individually for specific follow-up questions about the topics covered. And I'd like to remind you of upcoming CRL events. Our next quarterly webinar will be coming up fairly soon in September, and that will cover 3 subject areas as we have been doing with quarterly webinars, with updates on current initiatives. Specifically, we'll be looking at the Global Collections Initiative and some of the outcomes of that after a couple of years of having implemented that initiative. The information is available on our website. Registration is available. In October, this will be the next in our series of annual e-Desiderata forums, a virtual forum that looks in depth at aspects of the issues facing licensing for primary source materials, particularly databases, large data sets. This year, we're taking an angle of looking at the leveraging that can be undertaken by through the strength of consortia. And we will have experts from a number of consortia discussing strategies for leveraging influence. And we hope that that will be very informative to CRL members as well as members of NERL. Both of these events have registration open already, and you can go to our events page to sign up. Finally, as you leave, there is a brief exit survey. We really encourage you to take time to fill that out. Your feedback is very important for our future programming. Please stay in touch with us through our website, through our e-newsletter, Connect. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter. And recordings of this presentation will be available soon. We'll be sending a mailing out to all registrants of the webinar, letting you know when the recording is available, and other recordings are available as well on CRL's YouTube channel. Thank you very much, and good afternoon.